Hey there, I just found out about the passing of a true legend in Hollywood. Roger Corman passed away last night. Roger Corman was an amazing man who was as he called himself, king of the Bs. He created the B movie in the 1950s and produced a ton of movies and gave so many people, from Jack Nicholson to Francis Ford Coppola, their first shot at being in the movies. I had the pleasure to be at an event with him and sit at his table and dine with him, and he was a wonderfully fun, amazing person. He was 98 years old. He passed away today, and this story took place at his studio in Venice, which was an old lumber yard, which he kept the old lumber yard sign up so that no one would come bug people thinking they were making movies there. He was just a really amazing man. So here's the story. I've done my share of low-budget movies, and I have great respect for people who make them because you're not working with a lot. It's got to be a lot of creativity, and you really got to love what you're doing. So back in the 80s, a friend of mine who worked at Starlog in Fangoria and took pictures and wrote articles was given the assignment to go out to visit Roger Corman's studio and do a report on this upcoming movie called Galaxy of Terror. It's like a low-budget version of Alien. So we go out there, and he's doing the story, and they pawn us off on this guy who's like in the production crew, like in the art department, production designer guy, to show us all the different sets. And every now and again, another person in the art department would come and ask him, how do you want this done? He would tell him, and the guy would run off. Then he'd come back and he'd ask another question. This guy was super intense and wanted everything to look just like it should, okay? But they only had like $3 to make this movie. So what he had done to make the office hallways look like a starship, he went out to McDonald's, who were, delivering their burgers in these styrofoam clamshells. He bought a bunch of burgers, undid them, stapled the open clamshell burger holders to the wall, and then spray painted everything, used milk crates as flooring, and had this spiky acoustic foam that he put everywhere. Added a bunch of, PVC pipe and some flashing lights, and sure enough, there you go. You've got a starship. Pretty inventive, pretty smart guy, right? So I'm going through this, tour with this guy, and I kind of know this stuff. I've been on sets before, and I keep thinking to myself, man, this guy, he wants to be in the business so hard. He wants to do so much stuff, and he's just got to calm down because he can't be like this. You got to chill out. And so my friend's doing the story. He's taking the pictures. We get pictures of the monster. We also get this picture, which is of John Buechler and his crew. And John Buechler, years later, would end up directing me in Ghoulies Go to College. And so we had taken all these pictures. We took pictures of the sets. We took pictures of the miniatures, pictures of everybody. Well, we should have taken pictures with the guy that was giving us the tour, because this intense guy who I kept thinking to myself, this guy has got to calm down. He is never going to make it in Hollywood, because the guy who I thought was just a little bit too intense, well, that guy was James Cameron. Oh, and the guy who kept coming in and asking questions, that was a buddy of his who was working with him in the same department, and that was Bill Paxton. So while I was thinking that I was the guy that knew everything about Hollywood, turns out, once again, I was completely wrong.
You influence the way film trailers are made. I think many people, especially young people, think that film trailers have always been similar. But no, you really changed the way they were made with a certain innovation. What is it you did?
Well, it was Joe Dante, who went on to become a very well-known, successful director, who started cutting trailers for us. And he was cutting one trailer, and I looked at it and I said, Joe, this is a fairly dull trailer. What can you do to jazz it up? He said, come back this afternoon. I went back this afternoon, and there was the same dull trailer. In the middle was an exploding helicopter. It made the trailer.
Let me ask you a question. Was there an exploding helicopter in the film?
There is no law that says everything in the trailer has...
That's fantastic. The balls, man. That was incredible.